So reality is, I think, it's not something you can ever perceive because of how we interpret everything and perceive everything. It's all through the eyeball and then translated into the brain, and everything that we perceive around us goes through this filter in our brains. And some of that is biological. There's so much chaos happening around us at all times that we need to narrow that down and understand it to be able to engage with it. And some of it is socially constructed. So the kinds of, not just the lens of our eyes, the physical lens of our eyes that translates light into something we can understand as an image in our minds, but also how we interpret social relations and other people and situations. Those are already, the way we interpret those are predetermined by our immersion in culture.
We just assume what we see is real, but it's probably just our brains making sense of signals. It's a bit mental when you think about it.
I definitely think it's reality. Your own reality is very individual. Like, I think my reality is very different to yours because of where I grew up, what I'm listening to, what I see all the time and what I hear. So I feel like it's we don't all really share the same reality, I think, is my main opinion on it.
Reality is what we experience. It's dependent on multiple factors about where you grow up and your background, so it's different for everyone.
I would describe reality as your physical reality, like the people you surround yourself with and the content you consume, the places you go, that kind of thing.
I would describe reality, sorry, that was a really bad word. I would describe reality and multiple factors, so it's, I can't remember what, sorry.
It feels a bit weird just talking into the camera like this.
Is like set or constructed then?
Let me check my answer on that one.
This sounds better than this. My reality, I would say, is impacted by a lot of things. So like the people you have around you, your friends, your family, as well as how much you use social media, as well as how aware you are of AI. So in my degree, I'm very aware of the impact that AI has on people.
Yeah, completely. Like my perception to reality, and say my sisters, when we grew up in a very different like tech kind of world, would be very different.
I think reality is constructed because everyone has different factors that plays into their reality, like different relationships with people. They live in different places, they consume different media. Yeah, I do think that social media has changed people's perception of reality, especially through TikTok videos. The videos that you see could all be like true crime videos, and you will therefore think that the world is more dangerous and you'll be more cautious of certain things. Or certain social media influencers will post the most edited and like perfect photo of themselves, and you will believe that that is their reality, but in real life they don't actually look like that.
I can definitely see how gullible people would be easily influenced by social media. It preys on insecurities, and before you know it, you're trapped.
Yeah, social media and technology definitely affects how people perceive reality. You can even think for yourself how your memories are shaped, and how very often the way you frame the image of a memory in your mind, in your memory, will very often come from a photograph or a video, and that will construct how you perceive your own history in the world. So, I mean, that's just a small example that everyone can kind of relate to. So imagine if you fold that out to the deep immersion that we all have in media and images, how that must inevitably shape everything we think. And sometimes we're conscious of these things, but very often we aren't conscious of it. And I suppose the job of thinking critically and understanding how media and technology and social media especially, how they operate and why they operate, is about trying to get a grasp on the power relations that come with shaping that reality. So if somebody has the means of control over which images people are presented with, if that's actually shaping reality, then that's very, very powerful. So we need to understand how that works, because it is happening to us, whether we like it or not. So better if we can understand it and maybe start to, if we want to, resist some of those power relationships.
Yeah, like social media is it can swing you either way in terms of your reality. And a lot of, I think, if we see influencers, we think it's very real, but it probably isn't, you know.
I think social media definitely has impacted how we perceive reality. There's so much like fake stuff online that you don't know if it's real. AI is constantly improving, so I think it's hard to keep up with what is real and what's fake. It's definitely getting better at changing our realities.
I think that the people I surround myself with, the places I go, the media I consume, they all affect my reality.
It fundamentally changes your reality when you understand something this thoroughly. My studies have redefined how I see the world.
Probably my family would, my friends, my environment, the money that I have and what I'm able to pay for an experience as well is a big thing. And like my access to probably online and like loads of different websites and like social media is a big one, but also like my education, so I can tell the difference between reality and not.
My reality, I suppose, is necessarily distinct from every other individual's reality to some extent. And this feeds into contemporary ideologies around individualism and personal freedoms. And because we each have an individual sense of reality, that's why each individual has inalienable rights or freedoms or whatever else. But at the same time, so much of our perception is socialized and happens on a communal level that I think we do have a kind of a shared understanding of reality. So as much as we have individual perceptions, and my reality is distinct to your reality or anybody else's reality, we do have a shared reality that we all interact within. So I think it's that tension between the collective and the communal understanding of existence and our individual place within it. And I don't think one of those is superior to the other. I think they're always in tension with each other. So my reality is important, but it's only part of our shared reality, and it isn't necessarily distinct or superior to that shared reality.
For me, I think the fake content does normalise a false reality.
The social media influencers that I see heavily edit their photos to the most perfect body, most perfect face, no acne, like beautiful hair, beautiful bodies. Makes me feel not good, I guess. Like I compare myself to them, and there's no way to actually physically be like that because it's not real.
I suppose you just kind of have to look at things very subjectively. Like I don't take everything that I see online as fact, I suppose, more so now than ever. Yeah, I'd love to say something responsible, but it probably would be TikTok, and then I'd try and check it on ChatGPT, and then I'd probably ask people. Yeah.
I get my facts, well, partly from doing primary research, so going out and actually speaking to people. But that's quite a privileged position to be in, to have the time and finances to go and talk to people as part of your life. It's something we do anyway, in speaking to people and interacting with society. So maybe there's that kind of street level, everyday experience that everyone has, and I think that should be prioritized. Beyond that, I read as much as I can when I've got the energy or the attention span, but typically I spend about 26 hours a day on The Guardian, which I know is not technically possible, but where my attention I think would have gone to social media doom scrolling, I am constantly looking at The Guardian homepage. And I don't always like The Guardian because they have this liberal bias, and I would consider myself further left and more libertarian than The Guardian would be, and sometimes their take on issues is problematic from my perspective. But they are independently owned, they do rigorous investigative journalism, and I think that's very valuable in terms of having a news source. You're not having to think, okay, well, this newspaper is owned by this media conglomerate, they have these interests. Okay, The Guardian's got its political bias, and undoubtedly that then filters through to my interpretation of events. But as I say, I do hold it in a critical frame. So yes, that's why I rely on The Guardian for these stories. I do look elsewhere sometimes, but that's the primary one, honestly.
I sometimes see things on TikTok, but I will research it further through articles or Google.
I think AI definitely does have the ability to shape people's opinions more than people themselves. But I think that we need to take it with a pinch of salt. I think that you don't know where the information is coming from. You don't know if it's true or false. So I think if you're really looking for information, you need to find it yourself in AI.
If people aren't aware that it's AI generating the content, it can very easily and subconsciously influence their opinions.
Completely, definitely. From kids growing up to like older people trying to find information on their phones, I think it can swing opinions and like realities for people who are less in touch.
I think AI is both good and bad. I think it's useful for quickening up lots of tasks, but it's really bad in terms of people's mental health. It's affecting them in negative ways with the fake influencers, fake photos they add in. You can't tell what's real.
I feel like you kind of just have to, it's another thing that we have to get used to, I suppose.
Do you think it's a good thing?
It can be. But the way it's being used at the moment, not really, but the way it's being used in technology and healthcare systems, it's great. So.
Not every person you heard was a person. One of them learned how to sound human. The line between imitation and identity is disappearing. But if it felt real, does it really matter?